Tutorial for start to finish testing a medium-term plan as well as an annual progress report using Greece as an example and the 2026 annual progress report. So we'll start with step one, setting our global parameters. We're just going to select our country as Greece, select our IFI as the Hellenic Fiscal Council. This is for the reporting tools and the narrative text generation. So we'll leave that as assessing a new or revised MTP. We'll call that MTP 2024 to 2028. And we have escape clauses that have been activated, so we'll set these to true. They are country-specific escape clauses. They are related to defense. That will affect the calculation of the control account, the augmented control account. And the max growth rates are 1.5% of GDP, so we'll leave that as it is. Now, we will need to set our base year for the maximum increase in defense expenditures, as this differs between member states. Latvia's is 2021, for example, but Greece's is 2024, and I believe the annual or the defense expenditure as a portion of GDP in Greece in 2024 was 2.2%. That for some countries or for some member states, this base year is before the data that we'll be importing in the as outturn data, so we'll need to set that manually, unfortunately. But that is all the information we need. We have no debt or deficit procedure in place, or excessive debt or deficit procedure, so we'll leave that set as false and A. Moving on to step two, updating the outturn data. All we need to do here is check that our last year of outturn data is set correctly. That's 2025, yes, so we'll see that none of that is populated yet. We'll populate the Eurostat data first with our tool there. Click our button on Windows or Mac. Fetched in 4 seconds. We've imported all of our data for Greece because we've set Greece as the country. Then we need our Amico data, so we'll do the same for that. And now we have a complete data set of historical data to run our assessment. Now, if we want to match the annual progress report exactly, the government data in it takes a different view than the Eurostat and Amico data. So we may need to override some of the historical data if we want to match it exactly. So for Greece, the important one, I believe, was they have a different outlook for cyclical unemployment expenditure. Set that to true to override. 0.3% of GDP, 0.1, and minus 0.1% there. One-off expenditures was okay. I think expenditure funded by transfers from the EU is fine. But the other big one was discretionary revenue measures excluding one-offs. We had 2.1 there, I believe, and 1.1 slightly different, and defense expenditures slightly different than the Amico database. So we're going to set those to true to override, and you'll see that they are doing so in our table. So that should line up with what we are seeing in the annual progress report for historical data exactly. But first, we're going to assess the MTP. We're starting from scratch here using the blank template that we've downloaded from the website. So first, we're going to need to assess the medium-term plan. So jumping from step 2, we're going to skip over the implementation steps and go into step 3, importing the plan and prior guidance to set those variables. So we've already assessed, the tool has already assessed the outturn data to decide that we need reference trajectory. We're going to be a reference trajectory receiving country on the reference trajectory path of assessment. So this has shown us all the variables that we'll need to fill out to do so. All set to blank, but we can import an MTP, a medium-term plan, from a file. And we can do that by telling it which sheets the different budgetary and macroeconomic tables are in, table 7, A, B, C, D, and the column numbers where we have our numbered rows and the years where they appear. So I've set that to how they normally are imported. So we'll go to Greece's medium-term plan 2024 to 2028. Import that plan. We've filled out all of the medium-term plan variables that are required. Except that one, it seems. What is that one? That may be from the other path. Da, da, da. Might not have found it, but we can enter that manual structure, primary balance. Da, da. Just to be sure, I'm going to copy that in manually. And then we also need our prior guidance that we've received from the European Commission. So there's an import tool for that. We need to again tell it where it's going to find the fast stop reporting tab and the rows, all of that. I think I have that set for Latvia at the moment, so I may just copy and paste that from the spreadsheets, and we just do that very quickly here. That can be entered manually, or you can use the importing tool. There we have all the data that we need to assess the medium-term fiscal structural plan. Next, we have step 4, our IFI scrutiny tab. So we have a survey essentially to fill out here where we've scrutinized all the necessary components, whether the assumptions are sound and data-driven, all of that good stuff. We have legislative references for each check that we're doing, and then we'll fill out true, false, all of that. Then we can move on and we can assess our medium-term plan results. So we have all of our indicators here, our M indicators for the medium-term plan, and we see here that it's compliant in each of those. So our debt sustainability safeguard, Article 7, compliant, primary structural balance adjustment over the adjustment period, which is not a true requirement of the law, but the EC and all of their endorsement letters provides this information and seems to feel that it's an important check. All the net expenditure path requirements, it meets the general debt requirements, the deficit requirements. All these descriptive texts have been generated off the check, and it helps understand what the test is doing. So it looks like we're okay on the MTP. We can then move on to see whether our implementation is proceeding under the guidance. So we've done step 1 already. We've updated our outturn data. We can move to step 3, implementation, and we'll need to enter an outlook for that. So we can see here that we don't have anything for 2026. We're telling us that our outlook runs to 2026. If we just want to assess historical data, set that to 25. That all goes away, and it'll run a check just on outturn data, which all looks fine. But if we want to assess the forecast of the latest annual progress report, then we can set that to 2026, and we'll import that plan from the file, again telling it where to find the tables, which shouldn't need to be changed once they've been set. So we'll do our test scenario 4. This can be found on the website as well. Import the data. Now we have our outlook that's been populated, budgetary and macroeconomic tables, and that, I believe, should line up with what's in our APR 2026, and it does so. And then we just have to view the results. So again, we have our P indicators this time. P for performance. It's the implementation indicators, but using I as an acronym doesn't look very good with numbers. I1, I2, I2, 3, etc. So we've called them P indicators, 1 through 5. And then the overall implementation is compliant. We can read our descriptive text. So at the end of the assessment period, the balance increases cumulative control account is a credit underspend of 0.1 percentage points, etc. We have diagrams that indicate whether or they match each indicator to give us a kind of visual of what's happening with that check. There may be some labels that when we're jumping between countries here, we just have to adjust slightly, but not much. Everything else looks good. And we have our control account, including the augmented control account feeding through, and our main fiscal variables comparing the implementation to the MTP, whether they're underperforming, overperforming, and we've had a request that if they are underperforming, when escape clauses are in place, we show that as yellow, which it's doing. And there is our tool to run implementation assessments and MTP assessments.